Greetings, people of YouTube. This is MKN Forever, Tony once again. And as you probably noticed on the title up there, you probably know what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be reviewing a movie that I saw recently. That I know this is going to come out for a while, but I saw this movie recently. And by the way, thank you, Effrey, for sending me that link to Stageview. Well, it's not a link. He told me that it was on Stageview, and I looked it up, and I saw it. And this movie, it's a movie that I had really high hopes for, and my standards were met. One of my favorite of this year. Really, it's a shame that this movie is only on got only a DVD release, but anyway, it's still a very cool movie, and that movie is The Lost Boys 3. The Thirst. And this, of course, is the third movie in the Lost Boys films. And anyway, I'll get into the plot. And by the way, this review is going to have a bunch of spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled by this review, don't watch this review, as always. And I might include some scenes from the movie. I'm going to include some scenes from that, and 2 scenes I'm planning to put in this video. But anyway, let's get started with the plot. The movie starts out, we're in Washington, and apparently this senator is tied to a chair, and we find out that these vampires, 2 other vampires, are holding him down, while this other old vampire is about to bite the senator, right? And apparently he has to bite him to keep living, Anyway, and right before he bites him, guess who comes? Who smashes their way through the front door? The Frog Brothers. Now, Edgar Frog, and of course Alan Frog. Now, Edgar Frog is of course played by Corey Feldman, and the whole movie is centered around this character, in my opinion. And the way that there's a lot of character development in this movie based on this character. And Corey Feldman does a great job. He did a great job with his classic character. And anyway, and the Frog Brothers arrive, and they're able to free the senator. Once they free the senator, then all of a sudden Alan Frog goes disappearing. He disappears. Then apparently then it's the Edgar Frog goes looking for him, and he sees that he's being forced, that some vampire is force-feeding vampire blood into his brother, so causing him to become a vampire himself. And this is obviously a nightmare, and then we realize that it was all a dream. And Corey Feldman's character Edgar was dreaming, and apparently this actually did happen. We find out later in the movie. And we see from there we see, of course, that Corey Feldman is living in a trailer. Corey Feldman, Edgar, is living in a trailer, and the bank's foreclosing his trailer. Is claiming that trailer because he's backed up with a couple of bills or something. I don't know. And later on we see then of course there's the opening sequence, which I really like. The opening sequence, there's like blood splattered on white walls and stuff like that, and of course there's a sequence where there are comic book drawings at the beginning, and I heard through Effrey that this movie is actually inspired by a comic book of the Lost Boys. I didn't know that. You know, but the comic book I haven't read the comic book, but I will. I'm gonna try and see if I can find it in a store or someplace. Anyway, later on in the movie, we cut to a scene where Edgar Allan is in no Edgar Allan Edgar Frog is in a comic book store, and he's trying to sell some of his stuff, some of his comic books to the comic book guy, and see if he can get some money out of there. And apparently, the guy's only gonna give him $65, you know, for all that stuff. And apparently, uh, there's this one comic book called Destroy All Vampires, which in my opinion, this is like I've heard Edgar's character say that this kind of like a Bible of the vampires. But anyway, that's just a little side thing. But Edgar is saying, how come it's $65? Just $65. That's not enough. And well, the guy says, that's my offer. Take it or leave it. And then he of course he references, tell you what, you give me that Batman number 16, I think, and maybe I could do a little better. And then Edgar goes, no, I can't give you that. That's sentimental value. And just decides to just take the money, the $65, and just take that and just give him the stuff. And then right before he's about to leave, he meets this girl who apparently he's very close to. This girl, and I believe her name is Zoe in the movie, but I forget. Anyway, and he meets her, and he says, "You want me to?" Oh, he jacked you up, didn't he? So yeah, what you want me to put it up on eBay and see what I can get? And Edgar goes, okay. And after that, well, really, he meets this girl. When he's going back to his trailer, he meets this girl, and this girl's waiting for him in front of his trailer. And the woman asks him if you're Edgar Frog, aren't you? Now, the woman that's played here, she's nice looking, man. She's actually pretty cute. And yeah, are you Edgar Frog? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. She keeps saying this stuff about vampires, and he's just trying to pretend like he doesn't know what she's talking about. And anyway, we all know who he's talking about. But see, the girl, she needs help, Edgar's help, basically. And we find out that her brother was actually kidnapped by these vampires. And the story she tells him is that her brother was taken in and was actually, excuse me, there's a car, pardon that. And the girl's brother was actually whose name is, oh man, I forget the guy's name. But let me tell you something. He looks a lot like Justin Bieber. That's what kind of pissed me off about that. But and the scene that I'm gonna probably include in that. But anyway, her brother has been hanging out with this group, with this guy named DJX, and well, pretty much their group, and apparently he's been taking this new drug, this designer drug called the Thirst, and but it's not a drug, it's vampire blood. And basically DJX is this guy DJX is pretty much like the alpha of of all vampires, which is pretty much the vampire. And meaning, if you kill him, you get everybody who has been turned into a vampire by this person will eventually just become normal again, and that's the whole idea of this movie. you know. And Edgar, well, he doesn't want this job, okay? He just says, get out of here, And she goes, I know you. And right before she goes, she says, I know you couldn't save your brother, but I thought you might be able to save mine. And right there, that's referred to, of course, his brother. And DJ X, we find out that he's actually he has this woman's brother captive in a plane, and he's taking him to this place. But then we come back to Edgar, and he's going to go visit his brother. And he goes, and the minute he walks in with his brother, he sees that all these dogs and dead dogs, and bloody, and just blood everywhere. It's just like a weird, and a couple stuffed animals in there as well. And Alan goes, "What are you doing here, Edgar?" And Edgar goes, "What? I need an excuse to visit my own brother." And Alan goes, "At 1 in the morning, yeah." And then Edgar goes, "Well, I figured you'd be up." And he tells him pretty much what he has to do, and he goes, and I'm here to help. I need your help, by the way, and he needs his help pretty much. And well, Alan's not buying it, okay, because he says, "Look, I have a life, okay? You call this a life?" And he goes, "This guy coming from a guy who lives in a trailer, you know." And they have the little discussion there, and we can tell that these guys have drifted apart a little bit, Then he goes, "What if this is really the orgy of all bloodsuckers?" And then Alan goes, "As far as I'm concerned." And then we see that he's actually a vampire, And this is that explains why all the dogs are around there. He's pretty much sucking the blood out of all the dogs. And he goes, "As far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing as vampires." Which is like a little thing for the fans, It's like a little mind screw with you. And and from there he has these flashbacks constantly throughout the movie, first part of the movie. We see a couple of flashbacks to the first movie, and I really like that because I'm a fan of the first movie. I'm a big fan of the first movie, and eventually agrees to do the job, and well, there's this one scene that I really liked, but anyway, it's a scene where Edgar goes to talk to this girl, right? To the girl that offered him the job. And Edgar goes, "If I'm going to do this, I'm going to need weapons. Lots of weapons. Lots of really expensive, custom-made weapons." And she goes, "Come in." And, I'm just going to post the rest of the scene up because I want you guys to see it. Take a look. Just take a look.